So thanks everyone for joining. This is an introductory course on Office 365. I'll just begin by introducing myself. So my name is Sudeep, and besides the EBS team with whom I have been working for past 1 year, I might have worked with some of you. I've worked with the AIL team. I worked with the people team, with the safety team.
It's just one more room calling. Right. Sorry guys, we just got one more room call.
One more room calling, I think she said.
Thursday, Christine?
Yes.
Okay, we got everyone now? Or...
They're calling me.
We should have.
Oh,
sorry.
No, they're calling me.
Do you want to jump up and merge them in?
Give them a call on your own. Got them from there.
So he just went through it, so I did this mistake.
And merge.
Yes,
Right, course.
That's right, yeah, that's it.
That's how we start our meetings. 10 minutes trying to get the technology to work.
There we go. Oh, there it comes.
Hello.
Hello.
There you go.
Is that Welling?
Yeah. Right.
Great.
Do you want us to put our video on?
Probably doesn't matter too much because I think we've got a bit of a presentation anyway, but you're welcome to put it on if you want.
That's just what you need.
Great.
Yes, so I'll start by introducing myself. So my name is Sudhir, and I've been working with the EBS team for past 1 year, and I have been helping KRA with some Office 365 and pure-based consulting.
So Deep, we can't hear you very well. Sorry.
Okay,
Can you put yourself on mute
could
as
some
well?
people put themselves on mute as well? We're getting a bit of feedback from, I'm not sure which room.
Can you hear me okay now?
Okay,
Okay,
let us know if you can't hear you, otherwise we'll just soldier on.
sure. I'll go ahead. So what the agenda for today is to understand what Office 365 is. This is not a deep dive course, so we wouldn't go into the details of each and every Office 365 aspect. But the idea is to give a general overview of what Office 365 is, what tools does it constitute of, what is the right time to use a tool. So there are a lot of tools, and most of the tools they sort of converge at a point. So when to decide which tool to use, that's what we are gonna have a look at today. And at the end, I'll be happy to take any questions, any specific questions that you might have for me. If the question is complex enough, then what I can do is during my deep dive session on Office 365, I'll try to dedicate a separate session for it. Okay, so we'll get on to it. So you might have heard of these three keywords. People often use them interchangeably, but it's very important to understand the difference between these. So what's Azure, what's Office 365, and what's SharePoint? So traditionally, all the organizations used to have these huge infrastructure. So they would have stacks of servers. They would pay for the licensing of these servers. They have to first procure the servers. So they have to spend a hefty amount procuring it. But of late, the companies have started moving onto the cloud, which is there are still servers, but they are sitting somewhere, and you need not be concerned about where they are sitting. They are being managed by the service provider. In this case, we are talking about Microsoft. So Microsoft's cloud offering is called Azure, Microsoft Azure. So this model of having an infrastructure up in the cloud is called infrastructure as a service. So you're just using the infrastructure and you are not concerned about how to secure that infrastructure, or how to upgrade these, how to add firmwares to these servers and all. That's all being managed by Microsoft for you. So this is Microsoft Azure. Now, what is Office 365? Office 365 is just a program that's running up in Azure, and you interact with Office 365 through the applications that Office 365 provides. Some of these applications have been shown in this diagram here, but I'll talk about these applications in much more details later. So now what is SharePoint? SharePoint is just one of the applications that Office 365 provides. And since SharePoint is a very vast application in itself, we have a separate course on SharePoint. I mean, a separate session dedicated just for SharePoint. And this model of working is called software as a service, where you're paying for a service or software, and you don't have to worry about upgrading the software or installing the software on your machine. You just use it from Office 365. So that wheel that you see on the right, it actually shows all the Office 365 offerings. So these are the tools and features that Office 365 provide. The benefits of Office 365, why should you use Office 365 in the first place? The first thing is you don't need to install anything. You access Office 365 through a browser. So all you need is a browser and an internet connection. That's all that you need to use. It is supported by all the major browsers, Microsoft Internet Explorer 11 onwards, Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Opera, they all support Office 365. So you can use Office 365 on any device. So there is, for each and every tool that I have in that diagram, there is a mobile app for it. So you can access these Office 365 applications on any device, a device of your choice. And you don't have to worry about securing anything, because the security is being managed by Microsoft. So it could get as secure as it could be. How do you access Office 365? So all that you need to do is go to www.office.com and log in with your Airways credentials. And you'll get to that screen, which is the landing page of Office 365. On top, you'll see all the applications that are most commonly used applications. So Microsoft has this tagged them in the banner up on the top. If you want to access the other applications, you just click on Explore All Your Apps linked just below that, below those icons. The Install Office link that you see up there, it lets you install the Office applications on your machine. So I was telling you that Office 365 is up in the cloud and you just need a browser to sort of interact with it. That's correct. So all the applications can be accessed through the browser, but some of the Office applications like Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint, you can also install them on your machine. And you can do that by clicking on that icon there. So what Office 365 allows you is to install Office on 5 of your devices. So you can install this on your work computer, on other computers that you might want to use for work purposes. The only thing to keep in mind is there would be some IT restrictions on what you can do while you are using a non-Airways machine to install Office into. So the link down below, it just gives you a way to get to the documents you have been working on. So if there was a document I was working on yesterday, I don't have to go and look for it anymore. I just go to office.com and it just shows all my recent documents at one place. I can go and pin the document. So I can't demonstrate it in the screenshot, but if you hover over on any of these documents, there is an option to pin it. So when you pin it, it's like you're creating a favorite document or you're just marking it as a bookmark. And then it appears on the top ribbon, just like the other 4 documents that are appearing there. Any documents that people share with you can be accessed by clicking on Shared With Me link there. So just by going, so I'll come to the sharing part later when I talk about OneDrive and SharePoint. There's another link called Discover. What Discover does is, based on what projects you're working, what people you are being interacting with, it uses AI to sort of figure out what documents might be of your interest. For instance, now it looks into my Outlook calendar and it sees that I'm in a presentation, and it sees that the presentation was attached in the meeting invite around this time for the meeting to be held at this time. So it would automatically push that document up as my favorite document without me having to look for it. So when I click on Discover, Office 365 document will be right at the top. It just uses machine learning to do that. That link on the top left-hand side is called a waffle. And you'll see that waffle on each and every Office 365 application that you use. You can use any Office 365 application, and when you click on the waffle, it basically shows all these apps. So without having to leave the application, you can just move from one application to another. And when you click on it, it doesn't open it up in the same browser. So you can still keep working on what you were doing, and it opens up that new application on a separate tab. Now we'll quickly go through some of the Office 365 productivity tools that Office 365 provides. So the first thing is Outlook, and I don't need to go much about this. People use it on day-to-day basis. Unlike Microsoft Exchange, which is something which a company installs on premises, Office 365 offers this Outlook capability, which means that it has some limitations. So it's the limitations are that you can not send an email to more than 10,000 recipients in a single day. And in any email message, you cannot add more than 500 recipients to that. That's just to prevent spamming. So there are other ways to do it, and we'll talk about it in a moment. The power of Office. So like I mentioned, that all the Office applications can be accessed over the browser without having to install them. What's the benefit of it? The benefit is tomorrow, if Microsoft brings up another version of Office, which is Office maybe 2022, you don't have to install it, you don't have to upgrade it. You just keep using the browser, and that new software is available to you. So you always use the latest and greatest every time. Most of the Office applications support co-authoring, so two people can work on that same document at the same time, and you can even see the other person working on some sections. So you'll see that a section gets highlighted and it says that Ben is working on this document, or Ben is working on this bit. And it automatically synchronizes the work that the two people have been doing, and it consolidates all together in the single document. So it's a very good collaborative experience that people get out of this. And like I also mentioned, that these applications are also available as apps. So with Office applications, if I keep working on let's say I was working on this presentation and I was on slide number 5. If I just close my machine now and I open my app, it is going to take me back to that place where I was working, to the slide 5 itself. So it gives that seamless experience of working with a device of your choice and working from anywhere. Some of the limitations that Office has is, first of all, it only supports the latest extensions, which is the DocX, XLX, and PPTX, which is Microsoft, the latest versions of Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. So it doesn't support legacy extensions like .doc or .xls and so on and so forth. Any documents that you open up in the browser have to be less than, should be smaller than 10 MB. It doesn't mean that you can't create documents over 10 MB. You can, you just have to use the client application in order to work with them. You cannot open password protected files in the browser. Some of the shapes, so nowadays you can insert shapes from the web. In PowerPoint supports it, Word supports it. But some of these shapes, because Microsoft has not created them, they are not supported in the browser. So if there are highly uh, if a presentation has too many shapes or it's too complicated, it is possible that it might not work on a browser. And finally, if your Excel spreadsheet has macros, you won't be able to run macros on the browser. Now let's talk about Delve. So Delve is Microsoft's way of returning results back to you without you having to search them. So traditionally, if I were to look for a document, I'll go and search for it. But the Discover feed that I was showing you earlier is being powered by Delve. So Delve uses machine learning to sort of figure out what you might be interested in or what documents you might want to access. There are two ways to get to Delve. One is by clicking on Explore All Apps and then selecting Delve from there. The other option is on any of the Microsoft Office applications. If you click on the profile picture and click on My Profile, it takes you to Delve. Like you might have guessed by now that since it lets me update my profile, what does it let me do? So first thing is it lets me change the profile picture. So you can change the profile picture from here. It lets you update some information. For instance, you can add the projects you've been working on. So if people want to search for people working on a specific project, or if you want to add some skill sets that you have, it's very good for an organization internally. If people are looking for resources, they can look for people based on their skills. So that's where you go and update your skills and expertise. Add schools and education is not very relevant in this case, but Office 365 is also offered as an education platform. So students can go and add their school and education credentials if they like. So I told you that you can change the profile picture just by clicking on that camera icon there. Other than that, these are the documents which Office 365 or Delve thinks that might be relevant to me at this point. So as you can see, Office 365 presentation comes right at the very beginning because it knew that I had this meeting today. These are some other documents I have been working in the past. So it just shows them up in the banner. It shows the people I have been working with based on the emails I exchanged with them, or the meetings I have scheduled with the people. If I click and then the link down below, it shows discover documents from people around you. So if my team has been working on a document, I didn't author the document or I wasn't part of the collaboration process, but still, since I'm a part of the team, Office 365 thinks that these documents might be relevant to you, so they'll appear down at the bottom. If I click on any of these people up there, it shows all the documents these people have shared with me. So I don't have to go into my Outlook and look for an email from Hillary where Hillary might have shared a document, attached a document. I just click on Hillary and it shows all the documents she had shared with me over the period. So that was Delve. SharePoint Online, there's a lot to SharePoint, and I think the session is, we don't have time to cover everything, but there is going to be a separate session on SharePoint Online alone. But in nutshell, SharePoint lets you collaborate on documents. So it's a document management solution. You save your documents, you share your documents, you co-author your documents. It also lets you publish content. So you can create communication sites, you can create site pages to sort of communicate a message back to the company. And just going with the theme, everything is mobile responsive. So there's an app for SharePoint as well. You can access the same pages using the SharePoint app. SharePoint also has ability to add rules for regulatory compliance. OneDrive for Business, you can think of OneDrive of Business is a portion of SharePoint reserved for you. So it offers you a SharePoint site where you can save all your personal documents. And why would you save your personal documents in OneDrive? Because first, they are saved up in the cloud, so you can access them on any device from any place, from even from mobile. The other good thing about it is you can turn on offline capability with OneDrive. So what that does is it syncs all your documents to the device you are working on. And for instance, if you're working on a presentation, you can take it along on in a flight. You keep working on it, and as soon as it gets the internet connection back, the document syncs back up to the cloud. So you don't lose any time. Microsoft Teams. So while SharePoint is a good tool for document collaboration, what Microsoft Teams does is it is good for instant communication. So it has a chat-based interface. So I'll just show you how the interface looks. This is the Microsoft Teams interface up on your board. On the left-hand side, you'll see all the teams that you are part of. At the moment, there has been some governance around it. We don't want people to just go and create teams, because behind teams, it goes and creates a whole lot of other stuff. So if you need a team created, you can raise a help desk ticket with the EBS team, and they'll create a team for you. And what the team allows you to do is to work on a specific project altogether. So all the projects that I have been working on, there is a team for that. And within the team, you can create channels. Now, what is a channel? You can think of channel in this way. So I'm working on a project, and I have a whole team of designers. I have a team of project managers. I have a team of developers. So what I might want to do is create separate channels for them, because when I speak to developers, I won't be using the same language as I would when I speak to a designer. So all my design conversations would go into the designer channel. All my project status reports and everything would go into my project management channel. It doesn't mean that the designers can't go and access those documents. They can. If they go and select a channel, they will be able to go and access those documents. But the idea is to sort of separate out the content and showing you only the content that's relevant to you. So that's how you work with teams and channels within Teams. You can customize your channel the way you like. For example, when you click on that top, on that plus icon on the right-hand side up there, it pops up this add-in, which lets you add other Office 365 applications into your Teams interface itself. So what Microsoft is trying to do is it is trying to promote Teams as your desktop. So rather than you having to jump between different applications, you can add all those applications in your Teams interface itself, and then you never have to leave your Teams interface. You can see all your team conversations in Teams. You can see Power BI dashboards. If there is an Excel spreadsheet you want to collaborate on, you don't have to leave the Teams interface. You can do it within the Teams interface itself. So it lets you do that, and you can customize this board as you like for each channel. So each channel can have a separate board for itself. When you have a lot of teams, when you're part of a lot of teams, it might be hard to sort of navigate through them. So what Microsoft Teams lets you do is to monitor the activity feed. So if you click on activity feed, you'll see that something like that pops up there. And it shows that if someone mentions you in a conversation, or if something happens in a team that you have been part of, it just pops a notification up in the activity pane. And when you click on it, it takes you back to that conversation that was being referred to. The chat feature in Teams is for instant communication. So anything that the chat is meant for a one-to-one conversation. It's not meant for a Teams conversation. So if you want to have a Teams conversation, you'll do it in the conversation area under Teams. But if you want to have a one-on-one chat conversation with someone, then use the chat interface. Now you might ask a question, why would you do that if you already have Skype for Business? So the idea is that Skype for Business is not going to be around forever. So Microsoft Teams is a replacement for Skype for Business. So this tool has all the features that Skype for Business provides. At the moment, it's still not in parity with what Skype for Business can do, but it is getting there pretty soon.
As an organisation, we'll probably migrate from Skype for Business to Teams, but it's probably about 18 months away. So Skype for Business is still your enterprise voice, and kind of IM tool for now, but you can play around with Teams in the meantime while it gets more mature.
Yep, sure. And any files that you share with people through the chat interface, they get uploaded in SharePoint automatically in your OneDrive. So it's a safe way to communicate with people or exchange information. So like I mentioned, that Microsoft is trying to promote Teams as your one tool for day-to-day work, which means that if you were to schedule meetings, you don't have to go over to Outlook. You can do that within Teams, and all your Teams meeting appear in Outlook, and vice versa. So all your Outlook meetings, if they were being set up as team meetings, they'll appear in Teams. The files interface, what that lets you do is when you click on files, it shows files from all your devices and all the locations in Office 365. So your file might be so for example, if you look at my interface here, you see that the top two documents are from my OneDrive. Then it has got my notebook from my notebooks. So the total health mapping is a spreadsheet that's in my Teams interface. So everything, I don't have to go and look for anything. All the files that I have been working with or I have access to would appear in my files section. I can use the search button on the search text box on the top to sort of filter out some of the files. If I'm looking for something, I just start typing and it comes up with suggestions that I might be interested in. Microsoft Flow. So Microsoft Flow is again a tool offered by Office 365, and the way Microsoft defines is it is for the citizen developer. What that means is it is not just for the developers, it's for everyone. Anyone who is using Office 365 can use Flow. So what Flow lets you do is just use drag and drop operations and create a business process. And then you set a trigger to say that when do you want this business process to start? You just set the trigger and it works for you. So while you can use Flow to build some complex applications, like you can design a leave process or an onboarding process, expense claim process like this, but it need not have to be that complex every time. You can use Flow for trivial tasks, like I would want to go through my emails and any attachments that have been sent to me, I just want to copy them straight into my OneDrive. So you can just write a simple flow, and there are hundreds and hundreds of flow templates that are already available out there. You just choose a template. There's a template available to save your attachments from your Outlook into your OneDrive. And once you do that, you're using the flow so this flow is being used just by you. It's not being used by anyone else in the company. So what I'm trying to say is, while you can use Flow to build enterprise level applications, you can also use it for making your life simpler. Just like Flow is a business process tool, you can use Power Apps to design forms. So most probably you won't be creating Power App forms just for yourself. So these are enterprise forms. You can use this for creating visitor request forms or field report forms, travel forms. So this replaces one of the legacy Microsoft tools, which was InfoPath. It replaces InfoPath, and it's the new Microsoft Forms building platform. And you can design forms that are responsive, so they will work on mobile, they will work. There's an app for it. It allows you to use your mobile's camera to sort of take pictures or to get the GPS location of where you are. So you can design enterprise level applications using Power Apps and Flow together. Microsoft Stream, like the name suggests, Stream is the streaming service that Microsoft offers. So if there are huge video files, you don't want people to download those video files in order to see it's streamed by that you get that constant YouTube experience thing. And you can create channels. You can create a channel for, let's say, training, Office 365 training videos. So all your Office 365 training videos are in that channel, and you can share that channel with the rest of the company. People can comment on the team on the video, just like you see in YouTube. They can collaborate between. You can mention people in the comments, and people get notified about it. And the Teams meeting is integrated with Teams. Sorry, Teams meeting is integrated with Stream. So what that means is when you record a Teams meeting, it automatically gets uploaded into Stream. Unlike in this case where I'm doing a Skype recording and it saves it on my computer and then I have to upload it back. But that sort of integration has been done in Teams already. And if there are some licenses, some Office 365 licenses, which support you to capture the subtitles automatically. So when I'm doing this training, it is going to analyze the speech and it is going to create the the captions, and it's going to append them along with the video and upload them into Stream. So you can see the captions going as well as the video when it's running. The next is Yammer. Yammer is enterprise social network. So there are two separate thought streams. Some think that social enterprise is not for enterprises, as in social should not be merged with enterprise, but that's not quite true, because what Yammer is for a very specific use case. So if you are a part of the team, you know who are the people you can get the answers from. So if there is a IT specific question, I will ask it within the EBS team. But if there is a question I have no clue who is going to answer, who has the answer to it, I'll just put that up on Yammer, and then someone in the organization who can see my question can respond back to it. So what is the benefit of it? The benefit is, even if when I leave the organization, the questions that I asked or the responses that I received are still with the organization. Anyone can go and refer back to it. The Yammer has a very powerful search, so you can search on hashtags, you can search on mentions, and the Yammer interface looks something like this. And you don't have to join each and every Yammer group in your company. You can just join what interests you. So like they say that Teams is for, you don't have a choice when you have Teams, because if you are a part of a team, you have to be part of that team. But with Yammer, it's more about interest groups. Join only what you're interested in. So HR or people team might have a Yammer channel of their own. So if you are interested in hearing about what's going on there, you can join that team. You can join that interest group. But let me give you an example. If you want to maybe not join the EBS team because there's a lot of technical information exchange going on in the Yammer channel within the EBS team, but you might be interested in what Hillary has to say. Although Hillary is part of the EBS team, you can just go and follow Hillary. So that link up there shows the people you have been following. So that way, without having to join that interest group, you can just follow some people or some specific keywords that people have been talking about. So let's say towers, you want to follow that keyword. So if anyone mentions that in their Yammer post, you can see the Yammer conversations related to it. Microsoft Planner. Now, what's Planner? Planner is often mistaken as a project management tool. It's not a project management tool, it's a task management tool. So what that lets you do is manage your tasks. So that's a planner. What I don't think you can see that well. But that's a planner. That's how a planner board looks. It looks quite like Trello if you've used it. You can create a task. You can add some people, tag some people to the task. The people get notified about being tagged to the task. You can add some action points in your card. So you see those check boxes there. These are action points. And as and when people close these actions, they can just click on that box, and it has a capability of doing some basic reporting. So
Just to do with tasks in Outlook.
Yeah.
Does that go into Planner automatically, or is it separate?
The planner, I'm not pretty sure, but from what I think, I don't think Planner and Outlook tasks, they go together. They are still a separate entity.
Sure. One other question is, I'm quite often keeping a track of like 15 people's leave and put the application in over a period of time, but it's not a tool that can display it like a Gantt chart, even though you said it's not a Gantt chart. But does it have that capability to have key events, facts overseas, annual leave, that sort of Planner?
Planner has some very basic reporting. So what the charts that you see there, it can show you how many tasks are pending, how many are in progress, that kind of a thing. But for what you're asking, I think you could create a Teams dashboard for that rather than a Planner board. Yeah. So like I was explaining, the planner board lets you move cards from one place, from one vertical to another. And when the actions are all complete, the tasks that they just get closed. And if you want to go and see the tasks that were being closed, you just click on show completed link, and that shows the past cards. All that I'm showing you, all the capabilities that I'm showing you are supported in Office 365. Having said that, there are some restrictions to what you can do. For instance, in some cases, we have disabled some of the features, like people can't go and create a planner for them because, again, just like Teams, Planner goes and creates a whole lot of stuff behind the scenes. So again, I would request if you go and try to go and create a planner task or go and create a team and you're not able to do that, just raise a help desk ticket and you'll be helped. The last tool I would like to talk about is Sway. So Sway is used for presentations, and the difference between Sway and PowerPoint is that PowerPoint has a very fixed look and feel, so it doesn't change the layout based on the device you're accessing, whereas Sway is more like it gives you an experience of a web page. So you can import a PowerPoint presentation in Sway and and turn it into a Sway presentation. So it'll be more useful if I just share a Sway presentation with you, and you'll see the difference. So that is a Sway presentation. So it just looks like a web page, but what that allows you to do is do a lot of things. For instance, you can create these animated effects where you can go and go through. So if you have several images, instead of putting one image below the other, you can just group them all together in one. You can embed Power BI dashboards so this is not just an image, it's a fully functional dashboard. You can interact with it all within the Sway interface. You can go and insert Excel spreadsheet. So this is an Excel spreadsheet. You can actually interact with it within the Sway interface. So these are not just screenshots. And it is responsive. So based on what device you are working on. So if I just change the resolution, you'll see that it changes the look accordingly. So it always looks professional. So it's very good for someone like the marketing team to use to create visual reports and things like that. So those are the tools. So those are the tools, but like I said, that often there are a lot of, so since there is so much there to Office 365, it sometimes gets hard to decide when to use and what to use. And EBS team has done a great job creating two visuals. So and if you want to get to these visuals, you can just go back to a post from Hillary sometime back. And I'll just take a moment to sort of take you through the two visuals that were being developed. So if you are working alone, the first point, the rule of thumb is never save stuff on your computer, save them in OneDrive. So OneDrive should be your default location to save everything. That way, anything that you save always gets versioned. It can be accessed from anywhere without you having to rely on the device. If you are working with another person and it's an exchange, a communication, then that communication can be done through email. So email is not going away, email is still around, but email should just be used for formal communications, for example, sign-offs or getting whatever. I mean, you know that better than me. You can also, for instant, if the communication is instant, so email communication is never instant, but if you want instant communication, use Skype or Teams. But the moment you start sharing some information with them as an attachment, then probably these two are not the right tools to use. Then consider using OneDrive or SharePoint or Teams to share information. So when you send an email to someone and you have to share a document along with it, Outlook has this capability where it will ask you, do you want to share it from OneDrive, from within OneDrive, rather than attaching it as a document? And if you're not sharing it with external people, I would strongly recommend that you always use the OneDrive link. That way, you don't create copies of that document. So if the document gets forwarded or gets worked upon, you just keep creating copies of it. So rather than doing that, just create one common version in Teams. If you're interacting with not just one person, but multiple people, then the tool to use would be either SharePoint or Teams. If you're working with, if you have a message that has to go to the entire community or entire company, then probably use SharePoint or Yammer. So SharePoint for like the marketing team, if the marketing team wants to pass a message to the company, then probably they should be using SharePoint for that. If you have a question that you would want to ask the leadership team or anyone in the company, then probably use Yammer for that. So that's kind of a summary of what to use and when to use. I'm happy to take any specific questions you might have.
One of the apps is OneNote.
Yeah.
What's special about that? Because people talk about it.
Yes, I should, you're right, I should have included OneNote as well. So OneNote is a note-taking application, and it's very good in the way that it allows you to add all sorts of content. So if you take a screenshot from the web, it also includes the URL of the page where you took the screenshot from. So it's very handy to take some notes without having to sort of Microsoft Word is good, but it's quite rich, but you might not want to use a tool like Microsoft Word just to gather notes. So while I'm having this meeting, so Teams, for example, Teams meetings, when you're having Teams meetings, any notes that you take, they get automatically saved into OneNote. And on OneNote, it will show the people who had attended the meeting, what points were being discussed. So it adds the agenda automatically as in when people start typing. So yeah, it's just note-taking device.
Yeah.
Any questions from people on the phone?
Yeah, just a question probably for Bernie here, Steve. We sometimes have issues with the internet capacity,
And if everyone starts getting Office 365 and SharePoint as a regular course of work and everyone's trying to access, say, the server and network, how's that going to impact on the speeds and everything? And if the network has not been updated to cater for all that?
Yes, so Office 365 is primarily a tool to be used with a good bandwidth, or with an internet connection. That's the prerequisite, that you have to have a browser and an internet connection. Having said that, there are some applications that support the offline capability, like I mentioned. So Office applications, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, they all do that. There's OneDrive for Business, which supports offline capability. So you can, if you are having connectivity issues, save it in your OneDrive, and later when the connectivity is restored, the documents automatically get synced back.
And let me take that Kilburnie feedback away as well. Sorry, who was speaking then?
Rudy.
Rudy, okay, thanks Rudy. Yeah.
Another question.
Yeah.
Security-wise, this is all going to the cloud. Is that cloud controlled by Microsoft, obviously?
Yes.
What happens if something happens to Microsoft as a business and goes down? And not that it could ever happen, and they're probably very remote, but what happens to all the information that's already on the cloud? Have you a way of retrieving anything like that?
Yeah, so it's the Microsoft Azure cloud, but it's the Airways tenant of that. So one of the premises behind Microsoft is that they are set up with really good security, really good disaster recovery, that sort of thing. So I don't know specifically what would happen in that scenario. I know Sean Kennedy probably would. But yeah, obviously, that's a big part of Microsoft's business. So yeah.
Yeah, but to me, it's still a scenario of all your eggs in one basket. And if you've got that, where's the duplication?
Yeah. So the same scenario of if the internet connection went down between Australia and New Zealand, we'd be pretty up the creek with that as well. There's always things that can happen, but
what's our fallback in situations like that?
We do have backup. We run tapes and things like that as well.
So how readily can we access that if a situation like that happens?
I'm not sure. I'd have to check with probably Malcolm, who's doing the backups in Kilburnie at the moment. So, but yeah, I'm not sure. I can try and get back to you if you like.
Oh yeah, no, just interest overall in terms of as part of the thing. So it's just something that I thought if it's handled.
Newspaper.
Yeah, newspaper. I mean, when the internet goes down, everyone almost sort of closes shop and goes home.
Yeah, that's well.
So it's not that helpful in some ways.
Yeah.
What's the roadmap for all this stuff? Is there something somewhere that sort of gives a bit of a roadmap of what's changing and what's coming up?
Correct. So Office 365 also has first use tenant, first use users. So you can register yourself as a first use. I don't quite know what the term is, but you can register yourself. So you'll keep receiving communications on what is in the roadmap. And there is a site called uservoice.office365.com where you can go and suggest some features for Microsoft, and they keep you updated on where they are with respect to those features. So some of the features that have been rolled out in Teams have been from the feedback that they had received from the community.
Yeah. So and Microsoft have roadmaps sort of out to about 12 months, as I understand it, but they are always changing their apps and things like that. So it's something that EBS have to keep an eye on as well to understand what features are going, what features are coming, and what development. So yeah, it is an ever-changing thing. But all of that information is up on the Microsoft website for anyone to look at.
Yeah. And Office 365 is ever changing. So if you come the next day and you see that things have changed, just be aware of it. It keeps changing all the time.
Yeah.
I'll share a personal experience that in one of my previous projects, I was working with a company who wanted, so when back then Office 365 didn't have the profile picture option up on the top left, so it only showed the name of the person. So they wanted us to sort of display the image of the person up there. And we said, well, it's going to cost you 200 grand for us to sort of build some functionality like this. So we sort of talked him out of it. And 1 month after, when I was just doing a demonstration back to him, and to my surprise, the profile picture just popped up out of nowhere. Yeah, it was. It turned out Microsoft was also working on that feature, and it just got. They just started using it right from the day one without having to invest anything on it. So it's an ever-changing platform. It keeps updating all the time.
They call it evergreen, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's a sort of a more, a more open to open source collaborative view from Microsoft now. Is
Yeah.
that fair to say?
That is fair to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the new leadership, it's all open source. Yeah.
Talk about sending links, preference, attachments.
Yes.
My experience is that very often you try to open the link and access is denied internally because of
Security permissions.
something
Auditing
where it's been stored or whatever. And that's just a frustration. Stuff that send the attachment.
Yeah.
So I think as an organisation,
Yeah.
we've got a lot of work to do in terms of finding ways of actually storing the right permissions in the right places, so that you can actually rely on things. Because you always got to think, is this going inside or outside? Because it doesn't.
Yeah.
And half the time it isn't inside either. And so you just give up.
Yeah, so it sort of depends if you're sharing from on-premise or if it is in the cloud.
I don't actually, that's an interesting part. Right at the beginning of his presentation, he talked about shifting to on-premise type. But as a user, I don't actually care. And if it isn't transparent to me, then there's something wrong with the implementation.
Yeah, so site
Well, what I've seen
permissions
so far-
are actually held by the library owners, not EBS.
And I think what Alice trying to express, I think, is there another way of getting like a CIA category of 1 to 5? And even if a document's in a different place, all the general populace can read it without having the permissions delivered by the site owner. It's just a strategic question, I think. Yeah, that's just to really cover it.
So we do cover a little bit more of that in the next session, which is SharePoint and OneDrive,
Yeah.
which just talks about how to send and save and things like that.
My
So
experience with this whole is that it's slower. And
I think we will see far more enhancements. It's just going to be so rapid.
Yeah.
That's going to be a good thing.
Can I answer any questions? Ask any questions?
And the speed, the application will be optimized as well over certain areas and bandwidth is getting cheaper. But Kubernetes is, I think, a bit of a
Yeah,
choke point.
yeah. Okay, thank you.
Is there anything I didn't cover which you thought you would want to hear? So OneNote is something I'll update for next time.
I've got one silly comment, question. It's just around voice, recording voice, because I just find it's easier to talk to your TV or Google.
Yeah.
And other people have these apps. Is there a voice component in this area?
So with Teams, you can record voice. For instance, in the Teams meeting, you can just press start recording and it starts recording your voice, as well as if you're sharing some content, it will save the desktop as well.
Do you mean voice
Presentation.
enabled?
Actually, what I really mean is
Voice
just
memo.
voice to text, voice memo.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. So OneNote.
Yeah.
I think OneNote.
Be wrong on that one. No, you can serve voice recordings into OneNote.
Yes.
Leave them like the other.
Yes. There is a Azure Cognitive Service, which is not part of Office 365, but it's part of Azure. So it's a separate service that Microsoft provides, cognitive services, that has speech to text, text to speech capabilities.
Like a transcribing, they might
Yeah.
be saying something and it's writing.
Yes.
So in the good old days, the boss would give you the recording and you'd type it out.
Yeah.
Just want a bit of AI in the middle that does that.
Yes, but you can do that in Word as well. You can start recording and you can just dictate and it'll start typing that. Word supports that.
It's trying as much productivity as you know it.
Is your deep dive going to look into each of these applications and teach people how to use them? Like I'm aware that OneNote, there will probably a lot of applications with people benefits
Yes.
to them.
Yes.
However, your presentation today doesn't help me from that perspective.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to have to go back to my desk and spend a lot of time as a Luddite trying to find out how these things and all the aspects of.
Yes.
So the question I guess is, are you going to roll out further courses on how to do those individual ones? And people might select only say to use OneNote
Sure.
and something else. So can they come to a OneNote session and such session and fully learn rather than wasting time how to use those
Correct. Yeah.
fully?
So today's session was just to tell people that what's available, and so now they can make a conscious decision to say, well, I'm not interested in Flow or Power Apps, but maybe OneNote is something I would like to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so will have further sessions.
And then make decisions on the next time.
Hilary, this is a question for you actually. There's no plan at this stage to not roll out Office to desktop Office to the staff at this stage. We're still going to carry on doing desktop Excel and Outlook and things, as well as being able to access it through Office 365. I'm just thinking,
The Office 365 app from the point.
No. What I mean is, so at the moment we have Office installed as desktops. Yeah, on our desktops. So it's pushed out in the application, so you can launch Excel without going to cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course there's no limitations with, for instance, Excel. I think there's a cloud there, you can't run macros and things like that. So there's no plans to stop rolling out.
No, you need both
Yeah.
because I do find Office online has limited functionality. So if I'm doing any edits on documents, I want to actually have it properly downloaded and working on and then run it back up. Yeah. So yeah, so I will keep definitely the desktop versions as well.
And they work like you don't need internet connection for the desktop devices, but behind the scene it uses internet connection to sync it back to OneDrive and all.
Yeah.
So that's all it is. So there are no questions. Thank you for attending.
Thank you very much today.
Thank you.
It was great.
Thank you for everyone on the phone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
No, I'm a limited. My major